Well, welcome back to the NASIS video series. What we're going to be talking about today is Chapter 5, Understanding the Table Layout. And before I get into this, I wanted to mention that I've had several people email me asking about the quality of the videos, the resolution itself. And just as for your information, one thing that I've noticed in running these, it really depends upon the internet speed that you're running. For instance, when I'm running a VPN, it degrades the quality of my video substantially to where it's fuzzy. However, when I'm off VPN and I'm running off of my home network or even the office network, the bandwidth is sufficient to be able to bring it into clear view. So just be aware that the bandwidth that you're using has a tremendous impact on the how fuzzy this screen happens to be. Now, getting back to Chapter 5, understanding the table layout, what we're going to be discussing here are a few things on just navigating the tables themselves. I've got my query up on my favorites here, the one I like using. So I'm going to run this query against the local database, and I'm going to bring in the area, the LMAP unit, the map unit, the data map units. And I believe I've got KS169. I want only the correlated, and I only want the representative data map units. Now, I could choose to check this out. If I was going to edit all of this data, I could check it out at that time. However, I am not going to edit this entire survey area, so there's no reason to do a checkout at this time. So I'm going to run this. It's going to tell me that I've got 45 legend map unit records, 45 map units, and 45 data map units, a one-to-one-to-one relationship. So yes, I'm going to accept that. This is going to extract the information from my local database, and it's going to load it into my selected set. Notice that there is nothing in my editor panel yet, so I go over to my tables and I double click on legend, and now my selected set includes the legend KS169. I double click on map unit. The map units for KS169 all now appear. Double click on data map units. And here are all my data map units. Now, you'll notice that your screen looks different from mine. So I'm going to come back over here. I'm going to do a NASIS because I failed to do this before I started. And I'm going to manage my table layouts. I'm going to restore all of my table layouts back to default. And this will reset. Yes, I do want to do this. So, okay. Take a few minutes, and now here everything reappears as it did in the default method, the default view. And then this, of course, the same with the map unit. Now includes all the columns that used to appear. Now, getting into the table the understanding the table layout. One of the things that you need to be aware of is there are two rows at the very top of every one of these tables. And I'm going to open up the component so that you can see that there are two rows here also. Now, I'm going to minimize my Explorer panel by clicking on the double arrows. And I can also expand it by clicking on the double arrows again. But for right now, the only thing I care about is just being able to discuss the table layouts. There is a band, and that is the top row that's on every table, and then there is the column headers in the second row. So you'll see that they shift a little bit whenever I hover over them. But the comp percent is the band, and in the comp percent band I have the low, the RV, and the high. So that gives you an understanding of the way this works. We have bands and we have column headers. You'll also notice, and I've discussed this in previous ones, that we've got column headers that are bold and italic, and these are required fields. They have to be populated in order for that record, this particular record, to be reassigned, to be assigned back to the local database. It is a required field, in other words. Now, you can remove columns by two ways, one of which is using the right-click menu and hiding the column. That hides the column. The second way is by grabbing and doing a click and drag, and you'll notice that the X appears, and that is the second method of hiding a column. So now you say, well, okay, where did the columns go? If you'll right click on the header again, you'll notice that we've got the sort ascending and the sort descending. We've also got the group by this column, which I'll discuss later on. We also have the group by box. We have the hide column, we have freeze column, and we have hidden columns. I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to choose hidden columns. And you'll notice down here that I've now got a box that shows the hidden columns. I have hidden the sequence number and I've hidden the SIR phase obsolete. Also click on bands and you'll notice I don't have any bands. The bands are sequence number and SIR phase. Let's contrast that by coming in here and clicking on comp percent. And I'm going to drop and it becomes an X and I highlight it and I now have removed comp percent as a band, and this band now shows up as comp percent, and in the columns you'll notice that all I've got is the SIR and the sequence number. So now I can come back over here and I can grab my comp percent. Well, how do I get it back? I can come over here and I can bring it back up, and notice that as a band I have to go to the band row and I populate that back in there, and it now becomes back into my table. Once again, let's discuss this as far as a column header. I don't want to look at the lows and I don't want the highs, but I do want to keep the RV. Notice my columns. My columns in my hidden columns is now comp percent high and comp percent low. However, I still have my RV. And then when I click on bands, notice that I did not remove the band comp percent. I only removed the columns within that band. Confusing, yes, but I hope as you begin using this, you tend to begin to understand how this system works. So I'm going to close out the hidden columns. Anytime you want to bring it back, all you've got to do is right click and then bring up hidden columns, and there it is again. So keep that in mind. Now then, I have already explained this. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to open up the component table, and it's independent of the data map unit. Notice that in the data map unit I opened up the component table as a child of the DMU description. I also have the ability to open it up independent of the DMU. And here is my legacy. This legacy, the lineage band has the columns DMU description and DMU record ID. And we provide that lineage to you so that you understand where these particular components are maintained or stored. Let's go back into using the right-click menu again. I have the ability to sort ascending, or I can just click on the column and it will sort ascending. I can click on the column header again and it'll do a descending sort. So that gives you another tool that you can use to be able to analyze your data. Sort ascending, sort descending from the right-click menu, or just click on the column header. Now, let's assume that I want to sort by taxon kind first, because I want to be able to look at all those that are miscellaneous areas and series. But you'll notice all my component names are not sorted in sequential order. I want to be able to sort by sequential order on my component name also. So I'll come over here and I'll hold down the Shift key, Control key, and click. Okay, it was the Shift key. And you hold down the Shift key and you now have taxon kind in a sort denoted by the triangle, and you also have a shift click on component name, which is a secondary sort, and you'll have a sort column, the triangle, identified on it also. So there you go. That gives you a good idea on how you can go through here and modify. And then once again, if I wanted to, I could clear these sorts by just clicking on them, and that goes back into removing the sorts again. I could also come in here and click on major component, look at the major components that are shift click series, that are shift click component names. And now there's a case in which I've got three columns that are sorted based off of shift clicks. So I hope that helps you out when you start analyzing your data. Now, this exceeds my 10-minute timeline on this. So what I'm going to do is end this video here for part 1 on chapter 5. And then part 2 we'll pick up and we'll continue on with other clear sorting techniques.